Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by our friends at Fangoria Magazine. That's right, the first name in fright since 1979 is now an affiliate of America's Hometown Horror. And because of that, we can now offer you an exclusive 20% discount on any first-time magazine subscription or merchandise purchase by heading over to shop.fangoria.com and using the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout. That's shop.fangoria.com/HometownHorrorPod, or just use the code HometownHorrorPod at checkout for that exclusive discount on anything from Fangoria. Tonight's episode of America's Hometown Horror is also brought to you by our friends at Horror Facts Magazine. Never heard of Horror Facts Magazine? Well, if you're a horror fan, they're a name that you absolutely should know. You can find them over at horrorfacts.com, and they're a great resource for all things horror, including news, reviews, editorials, and lots of other horror podcasts, not only limited to, but including America's Hometown Horror. So head on over to horrorfacts.com and check them out. Last but certainly not least, if you want to support America's Hometown Horror directly, I would highly recommend you get yourself some tickets to the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention, which will be taking place at Mayflower Brewing Company in lovely Plymouth, Massachusetts for the first time on October 28th of this year. Yes, that's right, folks, the Saturday before Halloween. We're partnering with our friends over at Inebriart to put this event on, and you can buy yourself some tickets by going to inebriart.com, go to their events page, pull up their October calendar, and get yourself some $5 tickets to the Hometown Haunts and Hops Horror Convention, which is now sponsored by HalloweenNewEngland.com. HalloweenNewEngland.com is the website for the truly Halloween-obsessed, with the most extensive guides to New England haunted houses, ghost tours, classic horror film screenings, jack-o'-lantern festivals, haunted hayrides, and more. They've got all the thrills covered throughout September and October. With over 2,500 Halloween events on their events calendar and hundreds of local Halloween attractions, it's the only place you'll find everything from haunted history tours and costume contests to witch haunts are open on a Thursday night. No matter what you're looking for this Halloween season, HalloweenNewEngland.com has you covered, and we are thrilled to be partnering with them. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, good evening, and welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike, and I'll be your host this evening. And hey, new music, new ad read. Who dis, baby? You're hearing all of our new stuff here. It's exclusively because of our buddy Shano. And again, if you've noticed a difference in our sound over the last couple of weeks, it is exclusively because of our buddy Shano over at Skywheel Media, who's now doing all of our music and audio production. So thank you very much to Shano as always. And as I've said, if you have a podcast that you're looking to take to the next level in terms of audio production, get in touch with us and we can get you in touch with Shano at Skywheel Media. And he will have a website that is launching soon. So stay tuned for that. But we do have a lot to get to tonight, so why don't we get going? And here's where you can find us on the interwebs. First place is our website, ahpod.com. It's ahhpod.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for America's Hometown Horror, and you'll find us. We're also on Threads now, which is the new Twitter. You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. Well, now that I've gotten that off my chest, now is as good of a time as any to introduce my fellow co-hosts this evening. Matt is off, so it's just the original three amigos tonight. I'm joined by Andrew and Kat. Lady, gentlemen, hello.
Hello. Hey, long time since it's just been the three of us.
Definitely been a hot minute.
Yeah, when was the last time we did a podcast?
I'm trying to think. I don't even know. It's been a while for sure.
Sometime?
Maybe. Guys, happy Shark Week.
Yay!
Oh, it's Shark Week.
It is Shack Week.
Chomp.
Admittedly, haven't watched too much of Shark Week yet, but I know it's all pretty much, you can just watch it all whenever now. It's all on HBO Max or whatever it's called now, because Discovery is part of that rebrand. They have a whole Shark Week section that I was scrolling through.
Right now, Paramount and Showtime are now all one.
Paramount and Showtime, I think, is now all one. It constantly changes, so it's tough to keep up with. I
just got a notification, and they reimbursed me for like 3 months of Showtime because they're like, you have Paramount and Showtime. It's the same platform.
Really?
So I'm assuming that means anything you can find on Showtime, you can find on Paramount, because otherwise, why would they cancel They canceled it for me, which I thought was shocking.
It's so weird
because you get my money back.
You can still get Showtime as an add-on to Hulu too. It's fucking weird. I don't know.
So I'm assuming that you can watch Yellow Jackets on Paramount now. Then
I believe you can. Yes,
so that would make it even better.
Cool. Yeah. So how about that? Streaming wars continue. Streaming. But yeah, happy Shark Week. Hopefully, if you like Shark Week, you are enjoying. And speaking of sharks, we are getting the Meg 2, The Trench next week, which, Andrew, I believe that you
I saw that trailer.
a trailer for when you saw Oppenheimer on opening night, correct?
That is correct.
I'm sure you're going to run through Oppenheimer in some detail without spoiling when we get to our watch list section here. But yeah, Meg 2, The Trench out next week. And at the end of this week, we're getting two new horror or horror-ish movies. One is very much a horror movie, Talk to Me, the new one from A24. That's getting all kinds of great reviews. So we'll see how that one works out. And then in addition to that, we also finally got the trailer released online for The Exorcist Believer. Kat, I'm assuming you probably didn't see this yet, right? Andrew, you saw it before Oppenheimer. Another trailer you saw before Oppenheimer. And it was pretty cool that you kind of got that as a little exclusive, as it wasn't released online until, today, actually. So Oppenheimer came out last Thursday. So you saw it a good 5-6 days in advance of everybody else.
Which I'm kind of, because I was extremely surprised for some reason. In all the conversations we've had about the new Exorcist movie, I thought it was just a remake of the original.
No,
and I was like, that's a wild move. And so this is a little bit bad. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just
this is a legacy sequel,
a sequel to like a direct sequel to the original.
Correct. I believe the other ones, all the other sequels are still canon, if I remember correctly. But this is same thing they did with the Halloween movies, actually. And this is directed by the guy that directed all 3 of the most recent Halloween movies. So now he's directing a trilogy of new movies based on The Exorcist being rebooted. So, or not rebooted, remade, requeled, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, requel.
That's a word.
That's a term for it now too. Yeah, because it's a sequel, but also kind of a remake. It does kind of both.
Requeled.
Yeah.
Requel.
Yeah. So Andrew, what did you think of this trailer?
It showed promise. It looks like it potentially could be a decent movie. I'm kind of all over and done with like the whole exorcism theme of any movies.
Yeah.
I've had enough. It's been done to death. But I don't think I'd go watch this. I have no desire to see this in theaters.
The next one is going to be called The Exorcist Deceiver. See what they did there? Believer, Deceiver.
And what's the one after that?
I don't know. I don't think they announced that one yet. But
Believer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we'll probably see Linda Blair at some point. They show a picture of her as a kid in this one. I don't think you actually see her in the trailer.
So she's not
yeah, I mean, so
that technically means she's in the movie because she's in the credits.
I don't know. I mean,
you in the movie then?
So here's the thing: is that The Exorcist didn't do anything really crazy. It was just kind of one of the first movies to do it, and it did it so well. I don't necessarily because there's been, as you said, Andrew, 8,000 Exorcist type movies that have come out since then and done good and interesting things. Like I'm kind of on the same boat. Like I feel the way about like exorcism movies now as I do about like zombie shit. Like I'm kind of good.
Yeah. Any paranormal like ghost, demon scene. There's not much more you can do with that.
I like zombies.
I mean, I'm clearly going to see it, but don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's just I wonder if it's going to be pretty much what the new trilogy of Halloween movies ended up being, which was like some cool stuff, along with a lot of messy stuff that could have been better.
Was it David Gordon?
David Gordon Green. Yeah, so he's the director of this one. So I mean, the trailer. I thought the trailer looked all right. I was actually kind of surprised that Matt was as into it as he was. It seemed because I know Exorcist is one of his favorites, as is with me. But I was surprised that he thought it actually looked as promising as he thought it did. So I don't know. Check out the trailer for The Exorcist Believer online right now as we speak. Or if you're going to see Oppenheimer, you can probably catch it before that as well. So, Andrew, I mean, now's probably as good a time as any for you to talk about Oppenheimer.
I will say, personally speaking, it did not feel like 3 hours. It felt like a 2-hour movie to me. I thought it was very well paced, extremely well written, obviously. The acting, I mean, if you look at the cast in that movie,
the cast is phenomenal. Yeah.
Cillian Murphy will probably win an award for this movie. Huh. Nolan will probably win an award. The sound team will probably win an award for this movie. Downey will probably get best supporting actor because he was absolutely phenomenal. Matt Damon was fantastic. Even Emily Blunt was awesome. Florence Pugh was awesome. Casey Affleck was great in his tiny role.
I love him.
There was a million. The guy from Stranger Things, what's his name again? Matthew Modine.
Oh yeah, Matthew Modine.
He was good in his small role. It was like every new scene that they came on, you're like, oh, I know this person. Oh, I know this person. Rami Malek was fantastic in the movie.
I forgot he was in it too.
He was great.
I want to see when is it streaming?
Probably not for a while. They want to milk this for.
I give this movie a 10 out of 10 any day of the week. But I'm just going to warn people, and I told Mike this the other day. I don't know. It's clearly doing very well with audiences right now and critics. It's like at 94% on Rotten Tomato for audiences, which surprised me a little bit. But I also think that all the people that have gone and seen this movie are big Nolan heads, like this their thing.
Yeah.
But by no means is this a horror movie.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, it's not a horror movie, and I didn't watch it because I thought it's a horror movie. No, it's not a horror movie. It's a horrifying and horrible story. But it was a story that I think needed to be told. And I think it being told now is not a bad move. I think it's a very important movie and people need to see it just for that. And I also will say 3 people dressed up in the movie. I went to see Oppenheimer, which I thought was strange. They were wearing suits. Strange. None of them were wearing the iconic hat, which that would have been cool.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it.
The fedora.
Like, it's not even a fedora. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It's like a cross between a fedora and like an Indiana Jones hat. I have no idea. It's a really weird hat. It's a cool hat. I kind of want one, but can't wear one now. Otherwise, you're a loser.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
The guy at the hat store said, I'm the only one he's ever seen pull it off. I'm not taking it off. So where would you rank it? I would say Oppenheimer against like Nolan's other films. I know you said it's different, but I mean...
It's completely different than anything he's done, so I think it's in its own class.
Put it this way. Are there Nolan movies that you liked better?
It's a top 5 Nolan movie immediately.
Okay, so
It immediately jumps into the top 5. I would have to think about this a lot harder and not have such recency bias when I do put it in there, but I also don't have Inception in my top 5, so I'm like a different Nolan type. I think Inception's a great movie, but I like Interstellar better. I like Memento better. I like Insomnia better. I like The Dark Knight. I like Batman Begins better.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, was it Rises? Is that the third?
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites. Yeah.
Good. But right by process of elimination, Dunkirk I like better than Inception. So this, I think if I had to put in, okay, so my personal Nolan top 5 at this moment in time would be Interstellar, The Dark Knight, Oppenheimer, I think, and then Dunkirk, Batman Begins, and then it's Memento, and then it's Insomnia. So like, yeah,
tough to say.
I mean, when you make fucking banger after banger, it makes it really tough. At that point, it just comes down to what you prefer in a movie.
Yeah, pretty loaded filmography for sure. Dude, Insomnia flies so far under the radar. It's crazy. That's a fucking great movie. Awesome performance by Robin Williams as a villain. Great Al Pacino performance with Christopher Nolan. Only Christopher Nolan movie that he did not write is Insomnia. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but all right, cool. So that's Oppenheimer, and you said that's all that you got a chance to watch this week, right?
It was, but also one trailer you didn't bring up that I got to see was The Voyage of the Last
Demeter. Yes.
And so this is apparently just one chapter from the Dracula book.
Correct.
And another type of movie I'm kind of all set with are vampire movies. This movie looked pretty. This movie looked pretty fun, interesting. It's just basically it takes place on the ship that's bringing Dracula from England to or wherever, from Europe to
from Europe to
America, and it's just on the ship, and it basically he escapes, and it's a creepy Dracula, very different design.
Very Nosferatu-ish, very bat-like, which I kind of hate that they've showed it so much already.
Yeah, like can you like not show that?
Yeah,
like that would be kind of way cooler.
It does, and so there's a newsstand only edition of Fangoria they put out, and that Dracula is on that particular cover, so it's out there. It does look really cool. I really, really want to see this movie. As a big fan of Dracula and Universal monster stuff, I am all in on this. I do actually want to see this one in particular in theaters. So yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this either, a little piece of news, but Del Toro's apparently going to be doing his own MonsterVerse with he's going to be directing Frankenstein.
Oh, so I didn't know he was doing his own MonsterVerse, but I heard that he was going to direct a Frankenstein.
And he wants to do like a whole monster.
I'm all in on that.
Monster?
Because he pretty much.
Are you guys making up words? You're like,
unfortunately, no. These are words.
These are words
when I say these words out of my mouth, I want to punch myself.
Vomit. Yeah.
But that's the only way. I mean, it's a good way. It's Monster Universe. So the original monsters,
Universal's classic monsters.
Well,
Frankenstein, Dracula. I mean, dude, Shape of Water is essentially the creature from the Black Lagoon with sex. So there's that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope, not at all. Fish sex, baby. Anywho, Gato, got anything interesting that you watched over the last week in addition to the movie we're talking about this evening?
We were watching What We Do in the Shadows. Right?
We did talk about that last week, so that was a couple weeks ago. I was saying to Andrew, though, there are probably more episodes out now.
Yeah. I haven't really watched. I didn't have much time to watch too many things. Yeah. So, pass.
Yeah. Well, you guys spent an entire day essentially down the Cape to go see a free Rob Thomas show.
Yeah,
right?
that was
Don't be
awesome.
too jealous.
Yeah.
That was
Mix
awesome.
1041's Beach House.
Oh, yeah.
Never felt more out of place in my life, yet I knew every single song that he played, and I was singing to all of them. So I can't be...
Me and Andrew were like geeking out, and everyone else is just standing there like in silence with their phones recording.
He was really good.
Like, he was really good.
Phenomenal. He played 5 songs for 25 minutes, which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Good time. I had fun.
It was fun.
So it was actually Matchbox 20, right? It was not Rob Thomas.
One of the guys from Matchbox 20.
I got you.
And they were playing pretty much...
They were playing at the Garden.
All Matchbox 20 songs, right?
Oh yeah. There was. I didn't know the first song, and then they played the Disease song and Push and 3 a.m.
That's awesome. They played Push. Push is one of my favorite Matchbox.
Yeah, I feel like they played like probably like if you went on like Spotify, it'd be the first 5 songs that come up.
Kind of horseshit. They didn't play Real World because that's their best song.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's okay. That's a discussion for another time. So yeah, that's Matchbox 20 talk here on America's Hometown.
It was cool. Yeah, it was nice.
So over the last week, I checked out the first time in a long time I had seen this movie. For a potential future thing I might be doing on our website. I rewatched the 1979 Amityville Horror film, the original one with James Brolin, Josh Brolin's dad, and Margot Kidder. Pretty goddamn good movie. I've long been a fan of the book, and the book scared the absolute shit out of me when I was a kid. And so I did actually rewatch this movie. First time in a while I had seen it. Holds up pretty well. There are a lot of differences between the book and the movie. And actually I did listen to the audiobook version of the book as well over the last week. So those two things may be related in a series I may be developing in my head for something for our blog, but more on that later. But yeah, Amityville Horror, obviously an iconic story. Make what you will of the validity of the story and how true it may or may not be. But it's certainly an interesting, scary story. And the movie's pretty good. I mean, I feel like you can feel, having read the book multiple times, there's a lot of stuff they leave out that I feel like they were kind of constricted and would have been pretty hard to do in 1979 special effects on the budget that they had. But this movie did really well at the time, and it's a pretty fucking good movie.
Book's better though.
I do. Yeah, I'm partial to the book. I like the book better personally.
Well, there's certain things that they can't do in the movie that they did in the book.
Correct. Really, there's one massive thing at the end that they don't show. There's a massive thing that is talked about and described in the book a lot that they really only show like one quick shot of from really far away. It looks cool, but if you've seen these movies or you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. The character of Jody. But yeah, so I rewatched that. More on that later. Stay tuned. And then in addition to that, also been listening to a pretty interesting new podcast that if you're a fan of UFOs or UAPs, as they call them now, or unidentified aerial phenomena, this is a podcast from the guy that does Radio Rental, which is the show that we've all kind of been obsessing over lately. This one's called High Strange, and it's just a lot about UFOs and different like people that have experienced these sightings and been abducted by aliens, and it's pretty cool and pretty creepy if you like UFOs and extraterrestrial stuff. So I'd recommend checking that one out. Again, that's called High Strange.
I feel like that would be a good nickname for Cat.
High Strange. That's actually pretty funny, Andrew. Good call. Yeah, that would be. What's up, High Strange?
I was gonna say, I'm like, that's a good name. When you said that, I was like, that's a very clever name.
Yeah, High Strange.
Yeah.
Hi, Strange. What's up? How we doing?
Hello.
Cool. Let's see. So that is what I got for news and watch list stuff. Let's see what else has anything that they would like to talk about.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Pretty light load.
In that case, why don't we pause for a quick... Oh, it's always a little bit lighter because Matt always comes in and fires off like 15 things that he's watched. So I know. He's at the Red Sox game tonight, though, so I think he's having a pretty good time. At least they finally got the game started, which is good because it was delayed. I would have felt bad for him because he got screwed out of seeing Oppenheimer the other night because he had to work. And then if he went to the Red Sox tonight and it got rained out, it would have felt awful for him. And he missed a podcast. Like, that would have sucked.
Yeah,
shitty week.
That would have been awful.
Sure. Yeah, tough week.
When you say it like that.
Tough week for Matt.
I just think he didn't want to talk about worms in reality.
Yeah.
Well, that's a different story. We can bring that up in a little bit. Why don't we take a pause here for 90 seconds to hear from a quick word from our sponsors? We'll be right back.
It's official. The critics' decision is in. Spooky World is spooktacular. Enter the new black hole. If you dare. Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200.
It's America's horror theme park, Spooky World.
Don't be scared. I'm the super sweet monster with the super sweet new cereal, Count Chocula.
Biffle, here's the super sweet new cereal, Frankenberry.
But I've got chocolate sweeties for monstrous chocolate flavor.
Well, I've got berry-flavored sweeties for monster strawberry flavor.
Count Chocula.
Frankenberry.
Hi.
Frankenberry.
Count Chocula.
Sleepy Clovers!
Time is alive! It's alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then right next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
All right, we're back. Worm time, baby. Worm
City.
time. Can't believe we've made it this far into the podcast and we haven't talked about Tremors on a full episode yet, which I know Kat was just absolutely convinced that we had already talked about this movie.
Yes.
But alas, we have not. It's probably been brought up a bunch of other times because, again, the running joke is that I love worm movies, and this is probably the ultimate worm movie out there.
It's
Tremors.
definitely been in a draft, a monster.
I've definitely, I think I took it in the 90s draft. I might have taken the Graboids in the monster draft we did way back, but we never talked about this entire movie in an entire episode. And we're going to do just that tonight because it was my pick this week, and I immediately thought of Tremors. I think Matt, the second we stopped recording last week, was like, Mike, your pick next week, you got to pick Tremors. And I was like, actually, you know what? I can't really be convinced otherwise at this point now that you put that idea in my head.
It seems like a summer movie.
Yeah. So here we are. Yeah, of course. It's. I feel like this is a very fun, definitely a summer movie because it's in the middle of the desert. So it's got that hot ass summer vibe for sure. Hello, Otis. Please be a good boy and don't bark and ruin this recording.
At the Spooky Hound Dog.
Yeah, at the Spooky Hound Dog. He has not been present for a little while, so welcome back, buddy. But yeah, I mean, well, I clearly love this movie because, worms. And I just, I kind of just think this is one of the most fun action horror movies of the 90s. Up there with such classic Academy Award-winning films as, say, like The Mummy. I feel like similar vibes, kind of. But this is just, it's a B movie that knows it's a B movie. It's funny. There's some good action. There's fun characters. Awesome practical effects. Like, the way they shoot some of this stuff with like the graboids like underground and like some of the stunts they pull off with like, cars and fences being pulled underground. And it's just, it's a lot of fun. It's a loud, stupid, fun action horror movie. And it has a great supporting cast with the late, great Fred Ward, who is good in everything that he's in, playing Kevin Bacon's right-hand man. I forget the character's name itself, but also gets Michael Gummer as Bert, the conspiracy gun nut, who's awesome. And I think he's the only character that's in like every single Tremors movie, which there have been 6 sequels to this, by the way, which is kind of nuts. And then also you get Reba McEntire playing...
So what's the difference between a sequel and a requel?
So a sequel just means that it's the continuation of a story or another movie in a franchise. A requel is like what they have been doing with like the Halloween movies that came out recently, where basically it's a direct sequel to the original film that either ignores or drastically downplays the other sequels that weren't as good. And then they kind of...
So they're like redoing like...
Basically, it's a combination of...
a sequel.
It's like a reboot sequel combination. So it's kind of both, kind of not both.
They're taking the original movie and they're making their sequels for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of.
So basically, yeah, David Gordon Green, who's again doing the Exorcist movies, when he did the new Halloween trilogy, he said, I'm going to ignore everything except for John Carpenter's classic movies. So Halloween, 2 through 6 or 8, however many were, they were all ignored, which, not necessarily a bad move. I know a lot of people like a lot of those sequels, Matt included, but
I just think it's a wild move as a director to just be like, I'm just going to do these types of movies. Like, you think you'd get kind of bored with it, but I guess maybe you enjoy not having to like do as much work.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Halloween movies were successful. They made a lot of money. They weren't really well received critically. I think a lot of people liked them, but
if you redo one right now, you're going to get an audience regardless because it's a Halloween movie.
Yeah, of course.
It's a safe choice.
It is a safe choice. Yeah, and this news again. So so basically, I think Universal did all 3 of the new Halloween movies, and Universal's doing all 3 of the new Exorcist movies with David Gordon Green. So anyway, that's that. So yeah, that's what a requel is. right? Otis, you good boy. And in addition to that, where was I here on my little thing? I think the only thing that brings Tremors down for me is the fact that it's PG-13 and it's not rated R. I mean, you know how much more awesome this movie could have been if there was like extra gore, extra swearing, some nudity maybe. I feel like a movie could have been better in that sense. I'm just saying, I'm not hating on the movie, but like how is there not more blood and guts and crazy worm kills?
I mean, if this movie was made today, though, it would be rated R.
Probably, yeah. And some of the sequels might have been rated R. I'm not even sure.
A lot of gun use in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, probably
rated R immediately.
Probably. But I mean, this is essentially a bloodless film, aside from, a poor horsey that gets eaten and then a bunch of sheep. And I think there's like one of the guys that gets killed has a little bit of blood coming out of his nose.
I mean, you get the graboid blood.
You get a lot of graboid, orange, disgusting matter and blood and all that stuff.
That's pretty gross. But
yeah,
there's no blood. So that's probably why it's.
Yeah.
And do they swear at all?
Kevin Bacon drops one fuck.
Yeah.
They basically skirted around a bunch of the stuff because I know that at one point they say mother humper twice instead of motherfucker because you can't say fuck more than once. Apparently you can say fuck once in a PG-13 movie, which I've never understood because it's like clearly every kid that sees this particular movie is going to remember the one fuck that's in the movie. So you might as well I feel like the more you say it, like the less of an impact it has. But anyway, so yeah, I love this movie, and I think Kevin Bacon is probably playing one of the most fun 90s action hero, like stereotype type things with an all-time name, Valentine McKee. What a name. Jesus Christ. Even though his southern western accent, whatever he's trying to do, is pretty terrible. Pretty bad.
Yeah, it's very awkward.
Yeah. And Andrew, you brought up an interesting point. We were talking about this a little while ago outside. Like, I mean, I guess Kevin Bacon is a handsome man, but like trying to see him play like the heartthrob lead love interest is interesting. I mean, Kat, I know he's an older guy now, but do you find Kevin Bacon to be like handsome, hot? Like,
no, he's not ugly, but he's
he's definitely not ugly, but
he's not like
Ryan Reynolds or
Ryan Reynolds.
Well, then there you go, because that's the type of person that should be playing that type of role.
Right.
Kevin Bacon, fantastic in this movie. But he's not a heartthrob.
Who would you think at that point in time would have been a better Kevin Bacon?
Swayze.
Or Swayze would have been a really good one. I was thinking Kurt Russell would have been good for that.
But he kind of need a goofy looking guy for this role.
Yeah.
Too.
He's kind of
he's one of 12 people that live in this weird town.
Yeah, so I think he's probably the best looking guy by default.
Because Fred Ward's better looking. Fred's better looking.
Yeah, right. Fred Ward, I love Fred Ward. He's so awesome. He's great in everything that he's in. But I feel like the supporting characters in this movie really make it. And the practical effects and the design of the graboid's pretty cool too. This is a movie that I've always loved. It's just one of those movies when I was a kid, it was always on TV, and no matter where I turned it on, I always left it on. I feel like it's just so good of a rewatch. There's so many good scenes in it that like even if you start it like in the middle or towards the end, it's just there's a lot to watch and be interested in. So yeah, I'll get off my little warm soapbox here. Kat, I know you're a fan of this movie as well.
Yes. Hold on, let me reference my notes.
Oh, okay.
Please.
You don't know like what you actually just think about it without reading off the cue card.
I find my notes when I watch the movie. So then
I know. I'm yoking with you. It's okay. All right, Tremors.
Such a fun movie. Kevin Bacon and the other guy are just two idiots. Corny, suspenseful, slapstick comedy war movie.
You're just gonna read your notes directly.
Yeah,
she does this all the time.
Music. Yeah, the music was really intense. I mean, it was kind of like a Jaws, like a very like doo-doo-doo. Like it was very.
It is very Jaws. Type of music to it.
Yeah.
I do agree.
No, but I love it because it's stupid, but it's scary, but it's also suspenseful. But like at one point they're literally trying to like blow up these graboids or whatever for like I feel like they're outside like forever. Like
that's actually
that whole scene is like very, very, very long. And at one point I had to stop because I had something to do, and then I came back and I put it back on and I was like, I'm only like 45 minutes into this movie. How long is it seems like it was going to end, and then I kept going.
There's only two interior sets in the entire movie.
Yeah.
The general store in the town, and then the bunker. Bert and Heather's bunker. Those are the only two inside locations in the entire movie. Everything else is outside.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So
that movie must have had a very low. The budget for the movie must have been very low.
So the budget for Tremors, let me see, in 1990s dollars was. Hold on, I have it right here somewhere. If I can find it, $10 million budget and it returned $16.7 million.
Wow, that's not that great.
Not that great.
So $10 million. That's actually a lot
higher than you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kevin Bacon at this point was in a different stage of his career, but still a big name, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I bet you he got a good amount of the money there. And I think a lot went into the practical effects in this movie.
Those practical, because you got to think they had to make basically 3 of those graboids.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
destroy them.
Yeah.
So that's very expensive.
The effects are expensive.
But overall, not a huge hit theatrically.
It's got a cult
following, huge cult following when it was released on VHS.
Yeah, because I mean, you watch this movie and you go, "This is a made-for-TV movie."
Yeah. I mean,
it essentially is.
Kind of is.
I mean, it's a B movie. That's what they are.
Yeah, but again, it's a B movie that knows it's a B movie, and it
doesn't try to be smart. Anything else other than just funny, stupid, and fun.
Like, it's not trying to be fucking Citizen Kane here. It's a movie about giant worms attacking a bunch of hicks in Nevada.
Not even just giant worms worms within a worm.
Oh, yeah, worms within a worm.
That was one of my other notes. I was like, wait, how can one of the little worms actually eat a person? Because they're so small.
Well, no,
I think they're just pulling them into the giant
mouth.
Oh.
Yeah, they're the little helpers.
It's like a Beetlejuice kind of deal with like the...
Kind of like, the sandworms and Beetlejuice, or I was actually thinking it's almost kind of like the little mouth on a xenomorph.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's 100% what it is.
Exactly. Little mouth, big mouth. Yeah.
I didn't think about pulling them in. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Pulling them in for the big guy to take
down the hole.
Yeah, down the hole.
Don't you think the big worm would be like gagging, having these other smaller, large worms coming out of its throat?
I mean, you'd think so. Yeah. You'd think so.
But then again, it's a disgusting worm. So.
Right.
Yeah. And they never really get into, like, I'm sure they do in the sequels, but like, where these things come from?
Yeah, I'm almost certain they get into it in the sequels, none of which I've seen.
I'd like to know.
They came from.
Probably judging by the fact that the movie does take place in Nevada in the middle of the desert. It would not be radiation, probably would play some sort of factor in it. I know one of the sequels that stars the character of Bert does take place in like either Alaska or Antarctica. So there's like ice worms in there. So it's like a lot of worm talk.
You haven't seen the sequels?
I really should go back and watch some of these because there's been 6 sequels, and the most recent one came out in like 2020.
It's like Phantasm. It's the same fucking thing. They just keep pumping these terrible movies out.
There's an audience out there somewhere for him. So, I mean, actually, probably it's me. But
it is you.
It's me.
Yeah,
I'm the worm.
I'm the worm. It's me. Any other notes that you want to expand upon for Tremors for overall thoughts before we run through some other stuff and go to Andrew?
No, I think that's good for my overall thoughts.
Great overall thoughts.
Thank you.
Andrew, Tremors, talk to me.
Very fun, very stupid, very easy to watch. It's just like it's a early 90s horror movie. There's nothing more to it than that. The acting's actually surprisingly better than you would expect with a movie like this, though.
Oh, for sure. I think
like
the
acting would be terrible, but the acting's actually one of the strong points of the movies. I keep trying to think. So I know the little girl is the one from Jurassic Park. That
Ariana Richards.
The annoying kid who pretends like he's getting killed.
Yes.
What Nickelodeon? What was he in?
Was he in Salute Your Shorts?
I
maybe?
think so, because I was like, that annoying kid is in something.
I'm gonna look.
And I wanted him to get eaten.
Oh, he was the worst
the entire time.
Yeah, he was just the worst. He was the worst.
He was very.
I'll look it up. Keep talking.
So yeah, I mean, it's a fucking wild, weird, like worm movie. It's just, I mean, if you're gonna watch a movie about worms or whatever these things are, these monsters, definitely gotta watch this. I did think Kevin Bacon, his he was a bit ridiculous, but I feel like I think he
probably done it
in a good way. Like he took on this role and he did exactly what you should do with this role.
Kind of hammed it up a little bit.
Don't don't overdo it. Like just overdo it 1,000%, and he did that. And I think that adds to the funness of the movie.
Funness?
It's a very fun movie. I did think there was one scene early in the movie where Kevin Bacon was describing his perfect woman, and I just thought of Mike immediately. He was just like blonde hair, blue eyes, big chest. Like that's what I'm hoping for. And I was like, "Oh, Mike, that sounds like you." I'm like, "I don't know why you like this movie so much."
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're like worms, and then you are Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
If only I could be Valentine McKee in another life, my friends. Okay. So the kid you're talking about, he's been in the Wonder Years.
Oh, that's what it is.
Let's see. He was
like the bully in that.
He was in Boy Meets World. He was in Baywatch. He was like a recurring character, like nobody famous. He was in Can't Hardly Wait, the movie. That's a great high school movie. I could have sworn he was in Salute Your Shorts.
He looks like one of the people.
Apparently, he's also in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, weird.
Oh, and he's also in Tremors 3, Back to Perfection.
What a weird name for Back to Perfection. What the hell does that even
Perfection is the name of the town in Nevada where they are.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so that's why it's called that.
And they go back there.
They go
He's there.
back again to perfection.
If you had asked me, that's not a accurate representation of that town.
No, I don't think so.
What's the opposite of perfection?
12 people.
Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a shit town.
destitution, awfulness.
I was a little bit confused. So again, movie, and I don't know how explosives work. I mean, I know how they kind of work.
They go
But
boom.
the very end, where Kevin Bacon just runs and he's carrying one of the little like handmade like bombs that they made.
Yeah, the dynamite. Yeah.
And he's like, I get his plan. Like he's going to try and get it to just run off the mountain. I don't know if that explosive landing on land would have caused such a force that it would just push the thing out, because it's essentially what they're implying.
So I don't think
because you hear it speed up after the bomb lands, it speeds up even faster.
it's not pushed. It's essentially they are so sensitive to sound. That's how they gauge where their prey is. That the sound is so loud that it spooks them, and they
confuse them.
They fly away.
Because I was like, if it landed behind it,
fly away, slither away, whatever.
yeah. So it was scared and it just jumped out.
Correct.
Okay, because that part confused me, and I was like, how does that work? I thought the explosion was like meant to like push it forward.
Yeah.
But
The explosion was solely for the act of scaring the graboid to fly out of the side of the cliff and splat on the ground like a giant boo.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So Tremors talk. All right. Let's keep rolling here. So basically, like I said, this is
What
another.
about your overall thoughts,
he
Michael?
gave his
I
overall
already
thoughts.
gave
He's
mine.
let us off.
Thank you for paying attention.
Sorry.
When the
Um,
hosts.
So yeah, this
I was
is
listening.
this movie definitely is another one of those movies that launched a franchise, which is take that for what you will. It's again 6 sequels, with the most recent one in 2020. There was also a 1-season 2003 TV series that I had no idea existed.
Huh.
What was that? Sci-fi?
That had to have been on Sci-Fi or something like that. And there's also a
Spike.
proposed video game that was canceled back in 2002. And I think what may be the biggest missed opportunity of all time, there was supposed to be a 2015 requel TV series that would have had Kevin Bacon return for the first time since 1990 to play Valentine McKee again, was in development from Universal and Blumhouse, and it was bounced back and forth between potentially being on Amazon Prime Video. Ultimately ended up, the pilot was going to be shot to air a season on the Sci-Fi Network. The pilot was shot, the season was never picked up, but the trailer is online and you can watch it. And the vibe of this looked like it would have been pretty fun. It's just old ass Kevin Bacon in the same town, like clearly on hard times. The graboids have been away for a long time. The whole trailer is set to Loser by Beck. So it's like, it's got that vibe to it. It's pretty, it looks pretty cool. Definitely look it up on YouTube because it's there. It's like 2.5-minute trailer. And the fact that some idiot executive at NBC Universal or Comcast, I think they're the ones that own Sci-Fi, said no to this is just fucking baffling to me.
Yeah, that
So,
seems like a wild move.
yeah, I'm surprised. Well, I think that ship has sailed now because I know Kevin Bacon would probably do it again at this point. But I don't think that it's, or he would have done it, but I don't know if he'd be down to do it again
Not now.
at this point. So I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot of Tremors movies out there. Pretty interesting. That's something that you never really would expect, I would think. This movie's directed by a guy named Ron Underwood, who went on to direct City Slickers, Mighty Joe Young, and the classic Eddie Murphy vehicle, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. No, thank you. Kat, he also worked on the Once Upon a Time TV series.
Oh, I love that.
Yep,
Yeah.
Fear the Walking Dead, and Evil, which is a pretty good TV show that we never finished.
we didn't
Actually,
finish
that was
that.
that was actually a pretty solid show. Based on a screenplay by 2 guys named Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson, who also wrote Short Circuit, which is a pretty classic.
That movie's
80s movie.
awesome.
Yep. So cool movie, and that basically the success of Short Circuit was what essentially got them the opportunity to put this project into development, because it was originally conceived by both these writers when they were working for the Navy, the U.S. Navy, as filmmakers in charge of creating educational safety videos, which is really weird. Basically, they were doing prep footage for a safety video. The two of them climbed up on this large boulder in the desert and just thought to themselves, what if there was something that wouldn't let us off of it? And that's where the idea came from. Basically, come up with a monster movie about being stranded on rocks in the middle of the desert. And I guess the working title for this, before it was called Tremors, was called Land Sharks. So
I don't know if it would have done as well.
No,
Probably
it's not
not.
like a shark; it's a worm.
yeah, so I'm assuming it's one of the many reasons that the title was changed.
I think Land Sharks is like one of the Sharknado movies.
Yeah, it actually.
It's like 12.
But they're all sharks on
there.
land anyway, right? Oh God, there's like at least 9 or 8 or 9, I
Another
think.
wild
Yeah.
franchise.
Yeah, I don't know who watches those.
Not me.
So basically, this movie was shot in early 1989 over 50 days. So this was only 2 interior locations. Principal photography took place around Lone Pine, California, in the isolated community of Darwin, California, which the crew liked because of its similarities to the fictional town of Perfection, Nevada. The whole town was built as a set. It was not a real town. Everything was built in the middle of the desert for this movie.
So that takes some of your budget.
There's your budget right there, in addition to the Graboids and Kevin Bacon. And honestly, I think it's just kind of funny that Kevin Bacon's turnaround on this movie, right? Because he originally resented being in Tremors so much, and he only agreed to do it because he needed money, because I guess he just at that point was getting married to Kira Sedgwick, and he ended up having his first child, who actually was the woman that starred in Smile. That's his daughter.
Oh, that's Kevin
really?
Bacon's daughter.
Kevin Bacon's daughter. So Susie Bacon, I think is how you say it. I don't know. It's spelled like Sosie.
Like crispy bacon.
Sosie. But basically, so the film, again, wasn't successful when it first came out. So Bacon essentially thought his career was over, and basically in following years would refuse to even acknowledge the film's existence, like in interviews and stuff. He just did not want to talk about it and called it, quote, the worst thing I ever did. And however, he eventually came around to obviously, calling it to be the single most fun time I've ever had making a movie in my entire career in 2012. And later in 2020 said, when I was making Tremors, I was very depressed at a low point in my life, and I kind of blamed Tremors for all that. I was bitter against it. I thought it was a career killer. I never watch my movies more than once. Some of my movies I've never even seen before and have no desire to. But I've watched Tremors a dozen times. I love it so much, and I spent years trying to capture the same energy we had on the set of Tremors. It's one of my favorite films of all time.
Wow.
How about that? And that's probably obviously why he wanted to come back and do that show that unfortunately never got off the ground.
Well, because then he did Hollow Man and a bunch of other
Dude,
movies.
Kevin Bacon, honestly, one of the coolest ideas you've ever come up with, and we haven't done it yet, is the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon horror.
I almost wanted to bring it up, and I was like, it's too short of time for that.
Yeah. But I mean, dude, Hollow Man is another awesome 90s movie. I love that movie. He's in A Stir of Echoes. That's a really good movie that's based on a Richard Matheson book.
He's in like a revenge movie where like his son gets killed.
Yes.
And that movie's not bad. I don't know if I forget what the name of that movie is though. It's like a
I forget what it's called, but I know exactly the movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think Paul Walker's in that too before he died.
So it was like early 2000s.
He also did another horror movie like fairly recently that was with she plays his wife, and she's much, much younger, and I guess that's kind of integral to the plot. What's her name? This is driving me crazy. She was in Ted 2. She's been in a ton of stuff.
Tomei?
No, not Marissa Tomei.
Wasn't she in Ted 1?
No, I don't think Marissa Tomei was in Ted 1. Not Mila Kunis. No, it's going to drive me insane. I'm just going to keep...
The blonde chick?
The blonde chick that was in Ted 2. Oh my God. What am I... This is going to drive me insane. Now I need to know. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's think of something else that came to my head. So if you were Kevin Bacon and had a child, the way you could name your baby...
That's what we're doing.
I mean...
Crispy bacon, chewy bacon.
I mean,
tasty
you could...
bacon.
I mean, you could ruin that child.
Amanda Seyfried. Yep, yeah, I was going to say. Once Kat was done with her bacon thought, I was going to jump in and say that. Yeah, so that one's called... I just had it in front of me and I just lost it. It's You Should Have Left. So yeah, Kevin Bacon's been in a lot of horror movies. He's also actually pretty good in
he was in that They Them.
Oh, They Slash Them. That's
them,
actually how I guess how you say it is They Slash Them.
Wait, did we see that? We saw that.
No, it's on Peacock though. It's a streaming movie that came out recently. I forgot he was in that.
He was also awesome in Mystic River. Forgot about that.
That's right. That's a great movie too. Not horror, but an awesome movie. And then he played an awesome character in a TV show that I watched for probably longer than I should have. It was pretty good. Following. He was actually, that was a really good show. And
Flatliners.
Flatliners. That's right. The original Flatliners, right? Not the remake.
He was also in Balto.
Balto.
Dude, The Following was so good.
Following was a really good show. That kind of flew under the radar too. Him and Sean Ashmore.
The guy that played John.
The guy that plays Iceman in the X-Men movies.
But then
one of the Ashmores.
And what's her face was in it too, right? The blonde chick.
I don't know which blonde chick. Which one do you mean? Yeah, there were a lot of people in that show. That show was pretty good.
I thought it was. Maybe I'm confusing that, but I'll look it up.
Yeah. So actually, we were just talking about Lone Pine, California, which is where the first movie, Tremors, was filmed. There actually is an exhibit dedicated to Tremors in the Lone Pine Film History Museum. So you can go out and go to an exhibit about Tremors at a museum in Lone Pine, California.
Death Sentence was the movie.
Death Sentence. That's
so
right.
I like that movie.
An Eli Roth movie.
That's a good question.
Or am I thinking of the
Charlie? No, that's music. James. That's a James Wan movie.
Oh, it's right. Okay, yeah.
So that movie gets a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, but on IMDb it gets a 6.7 out of 10. So
yeah, clearly.
Yeah, because I was like, I like that. That's a weird movie. He plays a very strange role in that movie.
Yeah, I have to go back and check that one out. I'm pretty sure I've seen that before. Cool.
His son gets like shot at like a convenience store.
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar with the plot. It's just
a very basic. It's a very basic plot.
Yeah. Cool. You guys want to talk about some other 1990 horror movies?
Sure.
I'm sure we got some good ones. Nightbreed in there.
There's Nightbreed's in there, baby. We'll get to that. So. Yeah, there's actually some decent ones in here. There's some crap for sure, but all right. So again, in alphabetical order, no particular favoritism order here. Arachnophobia came out in 1990.
Fantastic. Are they still doing that remake?
I don't know.
Requel? Fucking
yeah, right.
Monsterverse.
How many requels are we going to get? Fucking Jesus Christ. So we got Arachnophobia in 90. We got Bride of Reanimator in 1990, which I'm sure Matt has seen. Excuse me. Then we also got Buried Alive, which is a horror movie directed by Frank Darabont, who went on to do The Walking Dead, The Green Mile, The Mist. That stars Jennifer Jason Leigh. Ever seen it? We got Child's Play 2 in 1990. Never been a huge fan of the Child's Play series. I know Matt likes those movies. I'm not so much of a fan. We got a movie called Daughter of Darkness, which is a Stuart Gordon vehicle with Anthony Perkins, who obviously played Norman Bates in the original Psycho movie. Never seen it. We got the movie in 1990 with arguably the greatest jump scare in the history of film, and that would be The Exorcist 3.
That movie's fantastic.
The hospital hallway scare. That movie's also notorious for being the movie that Jeffrey Dahmer was obsessed with and made people watch in his bedroom before he killed them and ate
watch
them.
a movie with me?
Yeah, right? It's so fucking creepy and weird. And what a choice of a movie as well. I mean,
if you're going to be creepy and weird.
Yeah, might as well just take it all the way. Andrew, you just talked about Flatliners. That also came out in 1990. We also got a movie called Frankenhooker that came out in 1990. You've never seen it? Andrew, you seen it?
It's popped up on Prime a bunch of times. I'm like, not today.
Yeah.
Frankenhooker.
Yeah, maybe someday I'll watch Frankenhooker.
That sounds like a movie.
The highest grossing movie at the box office in the year 1990, which is arguably horror adjacent. I would not call it horror at all, but it popped up on my list. You guys have any idea what movie this is?
No.
Ghost.
Oh, I love Ghost.
Yeah, we were talking about Patrick Swayze. I mean, it is about a ghost.
It is about a ghost that she makes out with. It's more creepy.
But there's
right?
the
It's like a weird
demons.
fetish that she has.
You know the demons, they come and they take the bad guy.
Yeah,
Because
it's very
He's
scary.
always, it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Haven't seen that movie in a really long time, so I couldn't speak to
I
it.
love Ghost.
Yes, Ghost was the highest movie at the box office.
Yeah, Patrick Demi Moore,
Whoopi Goldberg.
Made $205 million. $205 million in $1990. So that's Ghost. We also got Andrew Graveyard Shift, based on the Stephen King short story.
I like that fun, stupid watch though.
About giant
Fred
rats.
Ward's in that
Fred
too.
Ward is in that movie.
That
yes,
movie.
he is.
He's the asshole.
Yep.
That's
correct.
He's in that movie.
We also got the sequel to Gremlins in 1990, Gremlins 2: The New Batch.
Gremlins 2.
Really? It's actually not bad.
No,
it's a pretty good sequel. It's not, obviously not as good as the first one, but it's a good sequel. It's not bad. Could be much worse. Cat. In 1990, I would qualify this as a movie. We got the It miniseries.
Fantastic.
The original movie.
The original It, yes, which I know that you are
it's a movie.
the biggest fan out of anyone on earth of.
Not a movie.
Yeah, it's your favorite movie of all time.
It's a movie. It's my favorite Stephen King movie. Storm of the Century is really good too.
That's not a movie. Storm of the Century is great, but it's probably not a movie.
Yeah, it is.
I'm stretching to call the
Yes, it is.
I'm stretching to call the It made for TV miniseries a movie, but I wanted to include it because you were here, obviously.
Oh, thanks.
No, it's fine. You can include it. Just stop saying it's a movie.
It is a movie. It's on a DVD, on one single DVD.
That's kind of wild. They were able to fit that whole thing on one.
It might be
my
two
Red Sox
sides,
World
though.
Series championship was like 12 DVDs from like 2004.
Wow.
That's
Jesus.
a lot.
Low-key banger from 1990, Jacob's Ladder. That movie rocks.
Low-key awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good.
Banger.
One of Tim Robbins' best performances.
Genuinely
Speaking
frightening.
of 6 Degrees of Separation, he's also in a movie with Kevin Bacon in Mystic River.
That's right. That's a fantastic movie. You ever
I
seen
don't think I've seen Mystic River.
Sean
Ever?
Penn's in that
I
movie.
don't think so.
Lawrence Fishburne?
Isn't it
The
long?
lady from the Conjuring movies.
Marcia Gay
she's in that,
Harden,
yeah.
Laura Linney.
She's also in The Mist, which is
Isn't
fantastic.
Mystic River long though?
It's like a 2-hour movie.
Honestly,
If that
Mystic
hour
River
and
is
45 minutes.
Mystic River might be the best Boston movie. It's in the conversation for the best Boston movie.
It might be the best Dennis Lehane movie.
That I think it's without a doubt.
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island's great, but I think Mystic River is better.
Probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone Baby Gone's really good too.
True.
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 God, have you ever seen Jacob's Ladder?
I don't think
It's a
so.
scary movie. We should check it out
Fucked up
sometime.
movie.
Okay.
Let's see. We got Maniac Cop 2 in 1990, which I'm sure Matt has seen.
Jacob's Ladder.
There's no way he's seen that movie.
Oh, I bet you he has. Text him right now. I guarantee you we've seen Maniac Cop 2. Banger from 1990, Misery. The only other 1990 movie that we've talked about on this podcast. That was one of Matt's guest appearances on this show before he came on
that's
full
probably
time.
a top 5 Stephen King adaptation.
Easily, I think. Yeah.
Like depending on your likes.
Yeah,
like, it probably
depending
wouldn't
on-
be in mine, but
yeah.
it should be in most.
In most people's, I would say that's
is fair.
probably one of the most popular horror-ish Stephen King movies.
It's up there with
like-
Shawshank.
No,
Yeah,
I
Shawshank.
definitely didn't see Jacob's Ladder.
Okay, fair enough. Andrew, Nightbreed came out in 1990.
Fantastic.
I know,
movie.
one of your favorites. I'm
Fucking-
pretty
we're
sure.
gonna do that at one point.
We can
That's
certainly-
going to
we
be done
can
because just to force people to watch that.
Okay, fair enough. We also got a remake of Night of the Living Dead in 1990 that was directed by Tom Savini. Never seen it.
Never seen that.
No.
Didn't even know it existed until I was doing the research for this. I'm sure it probably has great special effects, but it's tough to outdo the original Night of the
Yeah,
Living
that's a
Dead.
bold move.
It certainly is. Andrew, very good low-key sequel. Predator 2 came out in 1990 with
Danny Glover.
Danny
slams
Glover,
Nick Nolte.
Gary Busey.
Oh, Gary. I always get them.
Yeah, they're like the same person. Also, one of the first like crossover universe moments ever when you see the inside of the Predator ship and there's a xenomorph skull in there. I can
Yeah.
only talk.
That movie's so underrated.
It's a pretty good sequel. Speaking of sequels, in 1990 we got Psycho 4: The Beginning, which also stars Anthony Perkins. I didn't need a sequel to Psycho, so I haven't seen any of the sequels.
Let alone 4 of them.
Yeah. Good movie in 1990. Actually, I'd say a very good movie. You got Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
The Chamois, that one.
Yep, that's the one which actually originally when it was being developed was supposed to be Creepshow 3, and it turned into Tales from the Dark Side. I don't know why.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that in some like?
I think we did a segment draft, a horror anthology segment draft, and that might have come up in that one.
Because it was like Fluffy the no.
Fluffy is
Fluffy the
Creepshow.
dog.
No, what was the
That was a
Crate
draft.
Monster? Crate Monster.
Crate Monster is Fluffy, I believe. That's Creepshow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the weird monster in the?
It's like the
Steve
demon.
Buscemi one.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Is Steve Buscemi the one at the
It's the last. He's like at the glass. He's like the nerd, and then that other big named actor. It's not River Phoenix.
Christian Slater?
Christian Slater.
That's right. Yeah,
same
that's the one.
person.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good movie. Tales from the Dark Side. Like that a lot. Good show too.
I'll always remember Steve Buscemi because I always saw
That actually is
the,
like a mummy thing going on with it.
Yes.
That's what
Yep.
that one is.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you
It's
ever
all
seen
confusing.
bad Steve Buscemi tattoos?
No.
that people
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh my God, they're
also weird.
so horrible.
Why would you
and
get a
they're
tattoo?
so
Why would
good.
you ever want a frog on your arm that's
He's
actually
so
a person?
funny.
'Cause he looks like a frog.
Dude, I love Steve Buscemi. He's a good actor. I like him a lot.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get crazy eyes from.
Oh yeah. Orange is the New Black.
I love that he.
Just crazy eyes.
Yeah,
No, not
Steve Buscemi has crazy eyes too. Is what we're saying.
Yeah,
So you're talking about the character
Mr.
from
Mr. Deeds. Crazy
Deeds.
eyes.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
I love that he's just like small bit characters in all the Adam Sandler movies too, and they're all usually pretty good. Like in Billy Madison's the
yeah.
one that is putting lipstick on, and he crosses Billy off the list after Billy calls him to apologize. Great, it's so good. Then he's also fantastic in like Boardwalk Empire, which is a great show. So, last but certainly not least,
6 Degrees of Steve.
in
Buscemi.
1990, we got arguably what has been called the worst movie of all time, Troll 2. Oh my God! Probably the most YouTubed scene of all time. It's just so fucking ridiculous. Troll 2 to 1990.
Dark Half wasn't 1990. That was 91. 92.
Dark Half was not 1990.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Same
for
time.
horror at the box office in 90, so we already talked about Ghost. The top 5 films in 1990. Not horror, just in general, right?
Yeah,
So
this is
Ghost,
interesting.
Pretty Woman with $170 million.
Duh.
Richard
I mean,
Gere and Julia Roberts. Let's go.
Home Alone, $143 million.
how did that not make the horror list?
Okay,
It's actually
we've talked about this before.
interesting debate.
Fair enough.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, $135 million. Awesome, love that movie. And The Hunt for Red October with $122 million. Also in the top 10, Total Recall, Die Hard 2, Driving Miss Daisy, Dick Tracy, Back to the Future 3. And for horror, after Ghost, the next movie up here is at number 16. Flatliners made 61 mil. Arachnophobia made 53 mil. Let's see what else we got here. I mean, RoboCop, that's RoboCop 2, technically kind of. Gremlins: The New Batch made $41 million. Misery made $37 million.
I gotta say, this is just goes to show that like back then, movies in theaters made so much more money because you're talking about like 16th on the list.
Oh yeah,
$40 million.
Right.
16th on the list this year, probably ain't making $40 million.
No, I don't
if I
think
had
so.
to guess.
Not even close. Oh, I forgot to talk about this movie. Liam Neeson, Sam Raimi movie, Darkman, came out in 1990.
That movie's
That's a
very good.
really good movie.
It's a comic book adaptation.
It is. Yep, that made almost $34 million. Predator 2 made $30.6 mil. Pacific Heights, that's actually another good one that I didn't bring up. That's the thriller with, I think, Matthew Modine and Michael Keaton's the villain.
I don't know if I've seen that.
That's good.
Movie.
That's on, that made 29 mil. Child's Play 2 made $28 million.
That's insane.
Dude, Child's Play 2 is number 42 at the box office for the year. It made $28.5 million.
I mean, we should look up. So just go to like 2022 highest grossing movies. I'm just curious.
I'll look it up
to see what the because maybe it's the same.
Also,
but
by
also
the way,
we're in the future.
Right.
That's true.
We are in the future. We're not in the past.
Jacob's Ladder and The Exorcist 3 both were in the top 50 and both made over $26 million, just to round that out. So, all right, let me see if I can find, let's see, domestic box office for the year. What do you want to see, 2023 or 2022?
2022, do last year.
2022.
Pandemic years don't really count. Actually, do 2019, because that's pre-pandemic, so that was when movies were still big. Streaming wasn't too large.
Fair enough.
Just curious.
So each movie in the top 50 of 2022 made at least $22 million.
So similar.
But not like $42 million.
But with inflation, though, it changes.
Top Gun Maverick made $718 million.
Wow.
Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
But how much do you think they spent on that movie? They were using like real fighter jets and shit. That budget must have been out of control.
And dude, then like everything else in the top 10
was
out of control. Everything else in the top 10 last year was a superhero movie. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange, the Batman, Thor, Love and Thunder, Spider-Man, No Way Home. What do you want to look at? 2019?
Yeah, look at 2019. Let's see if there's any difference.
That was COVID started,
Pre-pandemic.
right? Pre-pandemic. So highest grossing film of 2019 was Avengers Endgame, which made $858 million.
Sounds about right.
Then let's see. Everything in the top, so there are only... Everything in the top 50 made over $56 million in 2019.
So yeah, it's a pre-pandemic thing. Way more people went to the movie.
Yeah, look at what it dropped from. It went from 56 to 22.
Yeah.
Highest grossing horror film of 2019, by the way, was It Chapter 2. Followed, that was at number 10 at the box office. Us was at number 12, $175 million.
So it wasn't really streaming that killed movie theaters. It was the pandemic.
It was.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood made $141 million. That's a great movie. Fantastic. Godzilla King of the Monsters, $110 million. Let's see what else. Anything else of note here? Annabelle Comes Home, $74 million. Zombieland Double Tap, $72.9 million. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, $69 million. Yeah, it's a pretty good year for horror at 2019.
You can see the horror growing.
Yep, absolutely. Pet Sematary remake, which stunk, made $54.7 million.
Thanks Trump for
good.
that. Ever since Trump, horror's been up. It's the one thing you can thank him for.
Yeah, right. Cool. That's box office stuff, guys.
We love talking about it.
We do. It's fun. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to look at trends and see like where things were at some particular snapshot in time. I like that stuff. I mean, I'm a dork, so that's okay. Guys, anything further on Tremors, on Worms in general before we
favorite worm movie, Michael? I want to hear your top 3 because I am not as
bullish.
No, not bullish. What's the word? Like not pronounced in worm movies. Like educated,
well versed
in worm movies.
So I feel like
There's a lot of worm
I feel like a
movies.
lot of stuff gets lumped into worm movies for me because this actually is a worm movie. I feel like any movie that has tentacles
Yeah.
in it is what you guys also
Yeah,
lump into the
The
category of
Void.
worms. The
Right.
Thing, The Void. I would say straight worm movie probably has to be the best.
But what else? What other worm movies?
I mean,
are there?
technically, you could throw Beetlejuice in the mix. You could throw Dune in the mix because there's
Dune,
giant
Star
sandworms in that.
Wars.
Star Wars.
Mhm.
I mean, this is not better, obviously, than other
Is there a movie
worm
with the
adjacent
lead?
movies, like
Yeah.
tentacle movies. I'd say would be worm adjacent. This is clearly not better than The Thing.
I mean, is there even any other just straight up worm movie?
I'm sure there are.
Killer worms.
I was
from
doing
outer
some
space.
research. So there's a cryptid that is rumored to have existed at some point. Obviously, there's been no proof that it was called the Mongolian death worm, and it essentially is pretty much a graboid, and which is terrifying to think about. But there were reports of it out there, never been proven, obviously. But there is a movie called Mongolian Death Worms that's out there. Never seen it, but I'm sure Tremors is probably better than that, if I had to guess. I don't know. I'd really have to think about it.
Because tentacles aren't worms.
Yeah, tentacles are just tentacles.
But we just do that to
I like sea creatures and space aliens with tentacles.
You like
and-
Lovecraftian
Yeah, I do.
things.
They all get lumped in with worms,
Yeah, so
which is
there's-
just
so it's just
A-okay
Tremors
with
is
me.
the best.
But I
worm
would say,
movie.
peak of worm movies. Yeah, I'd probably say so. Yeah, peak of worm movies.
Yeah.
For sure.
What if they made a movie called Worm of the Worlds? That would be fucking sick.
Worm of the Worlds. That would be
There's
pretty
just
awesome.
outer space worms coming down like a little.
I mean, War of the Worlds. I mean, those walking spaceships have tentacles that scoop people up, so that technically counts as one.
I just want a big giant like inchworm, like the most
Yeah.
unassuming type of worm, an inchworm.
It's a giant killer caterpillar.
One of those fuzzy bastards.
Oh, the woolly ones.
Yeah, the woolly mammoth ones that like give you like rashes.
Those things fucking freak me out. All right. Well, I think you guys have indulged me with worm talk for long enough, and I appreciate you letting me do this. Matt,
like worms.
of course, probably didn't want to participate in the worm conversation tonight. Probably didn't even go to the Red Sox game.
Like, I'm
That
not a Sox fan.
fucking liar.
Fuck you with your worms.
But anyway, I think that's probably going to wrap things up unless you guys have anything else you want to run through.
That's all I got.
No,
Cool.
I'm
All
good.
right, cool. Good stuff, guys. Otis, anything from you? Nope.
Woof.
Good. Woof. No, don't woof. Don't do that. All right. This has been another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thanks for checking back in with us and doing some worm talk. If you're interested in listening to more of our episodes, you can find us wherever you're listening to us right now next week. In addition to that, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and wherever else you may get your podcasts. And I've been joined by my co-hosts, Kat and Andrew. Lady, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining, and say goodbye to your audience.
Good evening.
What up, worm?
Adios, muchachos. Peace.
Big worm. That's what it is.
Big
What up, big worm? I think that's from like Friday or something.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Big worm.
Later. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and I want to say thanks again for listening to another episode of our show. If you're interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I'd highly recommend you check out the shows from our friends over on the Inebriart Podcast Network. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find shows from Inebriart, The Old Colony Cast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, and Retro Redoctopus, so head on over and give them a listen.